Hello guys and welcome back. So we're going to check on another deck tech for Aetherdrift Standard, and then we're going to take a look back in the set of Lost Caverns of Ixalan. We're in explore again the tribal deck of dinosaurs or dinos. So we call this one as the red-green version since this is the most feasible colors that fit for this strategy, and we have a new card component here that we can explore or maybe add up in the lineup of this deck. So that card is this one, the Regal Imperiosaur, which is a 3-mana 5/4 dinosaur, having only the ability of an anthem effect that gets your other dinosaurs you control gets +1. So we check on what would be its current look or possible look now with the new set going in. So this lineup composed of 31 creatures, 3 instants, considering also 2 sorceries as our spot removals, and 24 lands in the deck. So we're going to view the grid version. We're going to start off with, of course, our 1-mana drop ramp spells or ramp creatures or mana dudes per se. So we have 4 copies of Lore Keeper. So this is just basically our mana fix to add 1 mana of any color to cast a dinosaur spell or activate the ability of a dinosaur source. And in addition to that, we have also added 2 copies of Llanowar Elves. So we know that it is now back in standard, and we make sure that our ratio of 1 drop for this deck is kind of sufficient enough. So we have additional copies of this 1 mana Llanowar Elves to this build. Now going to the 2 drops, we have 4 copies of the Yearling. This just go with the curve, and basically it is ability that can benefit you because whenever you have another dinosaur enters the battlefield, it may have been able to copy its power. So it becomes 5/4, for example. You could imagine curving with the Yearling into Pugnacious Hammerskull. It becomes a 6/2 attacker. More so when if it's buffed by the Imperiosaur, it gets some huge chunks of damage early on, and also a very good damage source of this deck. So align also with not only having the 4 anthem effect of the Imperiosaur, we also considered 4 copies, of course, of the Hammerskull again from LCI, which only drawback is if you don't control another dinosaur, it will put a stun counter on it. So more so that it's become a good 3-mana 6/6 creature, which also can deal some damage early on. Again, just imagine curving into a turn 1 Llanowar Elf into turn 2 Hammerskull, and then placing a turn 4 Hulking Raptor, and then attacking it for 6 damage. So in addition also that I've considered in this build is a copy of Outcaster Trailblazer. So this card would help you get some Cardo effects because another creature enters the battlefield under your control with power 4 or greater, you will draw a card, and you can also plot this later on so that you can cast it for 0. And the bonus also is that you can also have this one add 1 mana of any color. So in using the plot, you can cast it for free. Adding also an extra mana gets you to ramp into these bigger creatures later on. So in a bit we explore the 4-drop, or the only 4-drop in this deck as considered is the Hulking Raptor, because it's also a good curve to have a 5/3 attacker and can able to protect itself with its ward. And it's also bonus is that it can also add in the pre-combat main phase 2 green mana. So it can ramp into this one, you can ramp into Carnosaur, you can go to Italy or Tyrannosaurus Rex on your 5th turn. And considering also we have added 2 copies of Bone Dracosaur. At times we need to have evasive creatures, then Bone Dracosaur would be your good choice for here, and also gets you bonus triggers of exiling top 2 cards in the library, and then if you exile a land card, you will create a bonus token of a green one, a 3/1 red dinosaur creature token, which can also be buffed by the Imperiosaur. And if you exile a land card this way, you will create a treasure token, and you can play those cards on your succeeding turns. And for the 6 mana, of course, start printing Carnosaur, because also this also acts as spot removal, because you can just pay 3 to discard it to deal 3 damage to target creature Planeswalker, and later on hardcast it for 6, and gets you to have a 7/6 Trampler with an ability that can discover 5 so that you can play on some creatures, the 5 mana or below creatures for free. So that's 2 for 1 per se in this deck. And then, of course, our top card, we have a few choices here. We have one of these very powerful late game creatures or dinosaurs per se in this build. So we have a copy of Italy Primal Conqueror. So this card would also gets you to trigger ATB effect with exiling the top cards of each player's library, and then they can until reveal an unknown card, and then you may play those cards for free. At the same time, if you're able to go in this one, you can transform it by paying 9 mana or 10 mana per se, 9 mana or 2 life. You can transform it into Italy Primal Sickness, which is an 11/11 Trampler indestructible and can get poison counter damage win condition whenever it deals combat damage to a player. And also, in addition to that, a similar kind of approach is Tyrannosaurus Rex. The good thing about this is that it cannot be countered, and also it is ward on its own. It is an 8/8 trample with haste. Just imagine on turn 6 or you can turn 5 this, you have an 8/8 trampler with toxic 4 and the ward and the haste also that can deal a huge chunk of damage. And also support and also a threat getter in the late game is a copy of Voltborn Tyrant, which is still a very good card from the breaking news edition of the Outlaws of Thunder Junction. With this ability that whenever a creature, another creature 4 greater, enters the battlefield under your control, you will gain 3 life and you will draw a card. And good thing is that when it dies, if it's not a token, you will create a token as a copy of it, except that it is an artifact in addition to its other type. So it can basically replace itself, and more so with its ETB effects that gets you card draws and life gain, which is also important in much of the aggro matchups. Now let's take a look at the spells here. Aside from the lands, we have 3 copies of Smuggler Supplies. It is a basically utility instant where it can get you to put up to 2 creature cards from your hand to battlefield by paying this one, by paying 6, or you can use this one to spree later on to mill 4 cards. You may put up to 2 creature and land cards from among the milled cards to your hand, and also creatures you control with power 4 greater against hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. It is a good way to cheat out your big creatures. At the same time, it can also protect you from spot removals and destroy effects. And also, since we know that Mono-Red is the meta game of this current standard format, so we need to have at least a main deck spot removal to be able to at least mitigate the early assault. So we have 2 copies of Triumphant Champ. This is also a bonus later on, because if you control greatest power among dinosaurs you control, you will deal that damage equal to its power. So early on, it becomes a 1 mana sorcery level shock, but late game, it becomes a very good fight effect spot removal for only 1 red mana. So let's take a look again at the lands. Aside from Cavern of Souls, let's make sure that we need our creatures or dinosaurs to resolve through counter spells. So we have 3 copies in the deck. We also some sort of card or card hand sculpting effect with this commercial district because of the surveil, which you can filter out some unneeded lands or spells from the top card and then put them in your graveyard. At the same time, you have creatures here, which the Manland Restless Reach, which is adaptively became also a dinosaur with its creature type. It has ability that can be activated for 4. It becomes a 3/4 red and green dinosaur that turn that whenever it attacks, another target attacking creature gets +2/+0, and then it gets to untap it. It benefits also with the dinosaur anthem effect with the Imperiosaur. So that's 2 copies in the deck. So aside also, the useful fix here in the basic lands are added in this kind of deck build. So let's take a look finally at the deck stats. We have more of the green over red. We have 33 for cards for green. Red is only 20, but production cost, you can see here, is very pretty much even with producing both colors, so as to avoid mana delays or mana colored scroll early on. And the average mana value is 3.14, but I think the 24 land main deck is also sufficient, along with the 6 mana producers here that can do the fixing for this kind of build. And last but not the least, we check on if there's tokens that we need. So we have copy token, triggered by these dinosaurs, treasure token by the Bone Horde Dinosaur, and also at the same time the T1 dinosaur token triggered by the same card. So I think probably this would be the efficient deck build for now. So this lineup, of course, we need to also vary some of these. Maybe like remove of the 4 ops and then add more of the third base, or maybe add more of this late game bomb dinosaurs. But it would also depend on how you would mix this one, and if ever you would be able to play this one in your local game store. Much more that Aetherdrift will be out in a few weeks in the format. Just let me know, and we can have discussion how those decks, this current list would fare on with the upcoming Aetherdrift standard format metagame. So I guess that's pretty much it, guys. Thank you again for checking this one. We have again the Gruul Dinosaurs from Aetherdrift Decktech. Don't forget to subscribe, and see you again in the next coming video.